What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here with another episode of Out of My Element, where you guys get to pick the album that I review, typically. So usually you guys get to vote on a poll, and the winner of that poll gets reviewed for these videos. But as some of you guys know that have been around for a while, I've been doing this kind of investigative thing into nu metal, mainly because I find the entire thing fascinating. It was a movement that I kind of dismissed, didn't listen to many of the bands, so I've been going back and kind of listening to some of the bigger names in the nu metal movement. And yeah, we land at Korn, kind of the purveyors of the whole thing, right? The guys who started it all. But funny enough, I actually saw Korn back in 1994. It was one of my first big concerts. I saw them with Biohazard and House of Pain. And I remember none of us knew who the hell Korn was. They had played, I think, like a year prior with Sick of It All as well. So we kind of assumed they were a hardcore band, but seeing them at this show, I remember their stage show being really good. They were super heavy. They were into it. There's this guy with these long dreads and he's going off, and it was all pretty cool until they hit the song. I don't want to get demonetized, so we're gonna say the song is Faget. It's spelled like this. And I remember him screaming over and over again, "I'm not a Faget, you motherfucking queers." So I was like, okay, fuck this band. But fast forward a year later, and me and a buddy of mine saw their tape at a local store in the neighborhood, and my friend stole it. And he hated it so much that he gave it to me, and I actually remember liking it back then. And even that song that I was just mentioning that was a bit contemptuous, it ended up making sense once I was able to get the entire context of the song, but we'll get into that later. But I haven't listened to this album since it came out. I liked it for a few months, then it just kind of fell to the side and I became totally disinterested in it. And this was before nu metal was even a thing. So I always kind of respected them for creating a whole new lane for themselves within heavy music. But the album opens with the song Blind, and this was actually the song that they opened with when I saw them, and that "Are you ready" part, I always thought that was pretty cool. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much an iconic moment in nu metal. Yeah, the song was heavy as fuck. You know, it's dark, it's almost creepy, and listening to it now, it's so interesting how they really had such a unique sound for the time. It was heavy and kind of groovy, but it didn't feel like rap metal or anything like that. And it was also interesting how they were able to give the bass guitar such prominence in the mix. Like, it actually sounds great. Ball Tongue starts off with a really good riff, and when it gets to the first verse, the bass is again really prominent here, and the bass tone is great. It sounds awesome, and what the guitars are doing here by kind of creating these almost sound effects in the background, it's really dope. But listening back to this with the lyrics up was kind of confusing. I get that Ball Tongue was a nickname for their manager, but what's this part about? Ball Tongue, you got the dikes off, I think they'll mind me. No idea what the fuck that means, so if you do, drop a comment. But the song gets a bit wonky towards the end of the song with that "how could you fucking dump me but not again." That part just keeps repeating over and over again, and it sounds kind of bad. Need To was one of the singles on this album, and I guess I see why. It's fairly catchy, but I don't actually care for this song much. The riffs are kind of boring in my opinion, and it's here that I kind of start thinking that the majority of the parts where I'm really noticing the bass, it kind of sounds like he's doing the same thing over and over again on every song. It's kind of like this funky, kind of slappy part. It's cool, but then it gets a bit monotonous. Clown starts off with what appears to be kind of a rehearsal session or something, but someone there calls someone else a Faget piece of shit. So this starts to feel like a pattern with this album. As far as the song goes, I don't like it. The riffs were a bit dry and his vocal performance wasn't compelling to me at all. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the song Faget. So musically, I find it to be one of the least interesting songs on the record outside of the drummer. I really like what the drummer's doing. He's got some nice chops and he's laying down some really cool patterns. He's got some really nice fills as well. He's a good drummer. However, the guitar riff is not very interesting. Even for this era of heavy music, it sounded very basic and generic. Jonathan's singing is kind of whatever. It's not interesting at all either, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just kind of basic. But yeah, the lyrics. I'm just a pretty boy. I'm not supposed to fuck a girl. I'm just a pretty boy living in this fucked up world. Look, I get it, right? When I was in high school, the title of this song was the main thing that a lot of people called me. So I get it. However, I never once tried to repurpose that word, because even then I knew that it wasn't my word to do that with. So I just kind of left it alone. But here, Jonathan seems to be trying to lash back at his bullies by throwing the same type of insults at them, like at the end when he yells, "I'm not a Faget. I'm not a Faget. You motherfucking queers." Again, I get what he's trying to do, but it comes off really corny. Like, it definitely doesn't translate well in 2021, but even back then in 1994, I thought it was stupid. The lyrics here are really hokey and very childish, and even outside of that, his vocal patterns just sound really awkward on this song, especially towards the part at the end where he's going off on that goofy rant where he yells, "You could suck my dick and fucking like it." Again, I get it. You know, he's throwing the insults back at the bullies by emulating the childish insults they threw at them, but it doesn't make for a great song, especially the end part of this song. Like, listening back to it, I feel embarrassed for these guys. And with all this shit, it does kind of make me wonder if Jonathan, and maybe even the band itself, is a bit homophobic. I have no idea. I didn't look it up before this video, because it's not like I'm going to return to this album or anything. Chutes and Ladders is another single, and I actually have no idea why. I find this to be one of the worst songs on the album. The lyrics are all nursery rhymes, but it just comes off so fucking stupid, especially when it gets really heavy and he's yelling, "Nick, nack, patty, whack, give a dog a bone." Honestly, from here, the songs get to be a bit boring for me. Not because the songs get bad or anything like that. It's just that they start to run into each other, which isn't really a problem if you like that particular sound, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. If it was a bit more diverse in the sound or the riffs, then this album would be a bit more enjoyable for me. But after this, it just kind of seems like they start repeating ideas on songs. That is until Helmet in the Bush. This song was really good. It's a bit different from the others. I like how it crawls in this weird and kind of creepy way at the beginning of it, and even when it gets heavy, the riff there is composed a bit differently than the other songs, especially from the part where he's saying "die tonight" and then it goes through the chorus. That part is actually really cool. I even like what he does at the very end of the song, where I can't tell if he's actually doing the growls or if it's pitch shifted, but either way, I think it sounds awesome. Daddy is a heavy song thematically. He's talking about how he was molested as a child, apparently by a babysitter, which is fucking awful. So I give him all of the respect for putting that into a song. I imagine that was quite cathartic for Jonathan, but also very brave to put that kind of pain into a song for the world to hear and pick apart. But him saying that it was a babysitter instead of a parent makes the lyrics a bit confusing on the first run through. "You raped, I feel dirty, it hurt, I'm not a liar, my God saw you watching, Daddy why, your own child. I scream, no one hears me, it hurt, I'm not a liar, my God saw you watch, Mommy why." But after thinking about it, it seems like more than him actually throwing the accusation at his parents, he's actually holding them partially accountable for what the babysitter did because they knew about it and they didn't step in to do anything, which is an even higher level of fucked up. But that part at the end of the song where he's crying really feels sincere. I've heard throughout the past 20-something years people make fun of this part, but it doesn't sound like they just recorded this for the song. It sounds like he's really having a breakdown, and it's a powerful moment to be that vulnerable on record and leave it there, and then layering that singing part over it. I don't want to call it beautiful or anything like that, but I can't think of a good adjective to insert here, but it was really deep sounding. So yeah, overall, this album is not bad at all. I don't think it's trash or embarrassing or anything like that, like some of the other nu metal stuff that I've reviewed here. It's just not something I would ever return to, but I can totally understand people really enjoying it. It's just not my kind of sound. But I'll say I respect this album for spawning an entirely new sound. This is a very unique album. It's a shame that it spawned so many copycats, but it's an even bigger shame that it's partially responsible for a lot of absolutely horribly shitty bands. Now, I haven't listened to any other Korn albums, so I don't know how far from this sound that they strayed, or if they kind of just evolved the sound. I have no idea. I heard singles here and there, but nothing that made me even remotely want to listen to an entire album. But this album's alright, man. It's recorded and produced really well. The guitars, the bass, the drums, the vocals, they all sound excellent. I'm not quite sure what to make of the perceived homophobia on this album from Jonathan, but even if I liked this album sonically enough to want to go back and listen to it again, that would kind of prevent me from really enjoying it. But stop right there. You know, yes, I do call rappers out on their homophobia as well, Chad. So go ahead and remove your fingers from the keyboard, because I know you're about to type that comment. You know, I bet you don't say nothing when them hippity hoppers put them stuff about gay folks on them rap albums you listen to in your fucking lowriders and your goddamn hippies. I bet you don't say nothing to them rappers, do you, buddy? But yeah, overall, cool album. That's it. That's all I got. Let me know what you guys think I should listen to next in this exploration of nu metal. Drop some comments down there in the comment section. But yeah, that's it. As usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out.